Plant maintenance for SAP by Software Solution Pack gives a clear insight from the first step of notification to completion of the plant maintenance order. With the help of these industry-agnostic solutions, one can identify the long-running process that are causing delays and identify bottlenecks. The solution focuses on process cycle times, conversion rates, on-time completions, and also clearly presents the throughput times between stages. What are the benefits of the solution pack? End-to-end transparency of the life cycle of the plant maintenance process. Identify all the inefficiencies and bottlenecks in your plant maintenance process. Secondly, benchmark organizations as unit and use the best practices to identify to improve process performance. And finally, identify process deviations for ideal process using conformance analysis. So let's start to walk through this solution pack. The first part we have is the Process Explorer, where we will identify key metrics that we will be having as an overview. So the first overview we have is cases started per day. So we will have the number of cases started per day in average, the activities started per day in averages, and the activities per cases, and the throughput times. So the average throughput times to complete each of these cases. And finally, we'll be able to see the number of cases per month. So we'll be able to see what are the ones where we have peaks in each of these scenarios, and then we will be able to analyze and understand why those peaks are happening. Our second tab is the Process Explorer. The Process Explorer shows the process flow of this plant maintenance. So what are the most common cases and what are the most least common ones? So we're starting to move these ones to 100%, and then we'll be able to see the difference variance of this packages. So we could be able to see what are all different packages that we have getting these cases. So if we move now to difference variance, we'll be able to identify what are the most common variants and what are the least common variants. So if we click in here, we'll be able to see the second most common variant, and then here is like the top 3 most common variants. But also, you could be able to identify the least common variants. The least common variants are maybe the most difficult to identify because that don't happen that often. Might be the cases where actually create more bottlenecks and headaches to the organization. This variance could be also transferred to the ARIS repository without no intervention, so it's very seamless that you can transfer these process flows into the ARIS repository. Now we are moving to the process performance page, and then we can see that the conformance that can be matched against the reference process step by step. So we have identified for a reference process within the ARIS repository, and these ones are the ones that are going to be a step by step a conformance or non-conformance. This conformance occurs in any activities, and inconsistencies are defined clearly in this case. So if we identify now, we would like to do a root analysis why this non-conformance happens. And then we perform the analysis of that. Any of these deviations should be analyzed, and improvements projects should be put in place to ensure conformance to the standard process. So we have identified this information, so you could be able to see it why this is happening. So you can see each of the different cases in here, and then all the information that this root cause analysis is being performed. Let's move now to the process cycle time. So in the process cycle time, again, we have the average process cycle, so how long it's taking to perform the cases. So it's 1.19 days at the cycle times, the median, and the distributions of the process cycle time per case durations. And then we also have the release each of those different activities. So if we move now to the details, so we can be able to pay attention to what are the most important cases for us, or what are the least important, and then say that this is the release the work order. So how long actually take you to release a work order, how long is taken to actually notify them. So this is how basically we could be able to identify the durations of each of these relationships and then each of these flows. Now we are moving to the process measures. So the first one we will have is the notifications. And then we move to the work order, which is the most important for that, because we would like to understand the cycle times for this one. So the creations from a work orders to being created into the being released, how long takes to release to confirmations, how long takes to confirmation to take completion, and how long takes to creations to take completion. So we'll be able to see the different cycle times, and then we'll be able to start to do some analysis in here. So as you can see here, this is the times where the takes the longest, so we'll be able to start to perform analysis in here. So we said that this one is the ones that was thinking that it might be some issues in here. So we do our analysis in here. And these deviations are the ones we're going to be analyzing and improving opportunities identified to reduce the cycle time. So we have identified, now we are able to use that information to have some improvements and run some projects to understand why and how we can actually fix those. Now we are going to the modifications. So the modifications, so we can understand now as why the work orders are being modified because of material shortage, why the work orders has been closed by manual users because something happens in there, and then they start the changes, and with the basic and the changes. So we want to understand like why those changes or notifications or modifications on the work orders happens. And then we have the on-time date. So again, we have cases in here, but the most important for us is to understand this. So in this case, we wanted to understand is on-time date. So how is on-time the start? So if we say that the start date is actually 46% of the cases actually starting late, we would like to analyze that. We would like to perform an analysis in this. So again, I selected mine, and then I run my performance analysis. As we know, early and late completions of orders have an impact on the production planning, as well as resources allocation for maintenance. Deviations should be analyzed and improvements opportunities must be identified from this case. So after we have run these ones, we are now working on the data that we have to identify opportunities to improve these cases.